Okay, so today we're taking a look at Dr. Kawashima's brain training for the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's bringing back the classic brain training titles that started all the way back in 2005 on the Nintendo DS. Again, they're presented by Dr. Kawashima, a Japanese neuroscientist, but can these live up to the legacy of the series? It's definitely been a long time since we've seen one. Well, hit subscribe today. We release a ton of Switch reviews each week. Hit like, leave us a comment below with your thoughts, and with that, let's find out. Okay, so before we do get started, I wanted to let you know that this does not yet have a North American release date. So if you do want it, you're gonna need to either import it or go to the Nintendo UK eShop. If you're unsure on how to do that, just let me know in the comments below and I'll happily walk you through the process. Footage on this video, it's gonna be a little bit different. You're going to be watching over my shoulder because with this one, it's nearly all designed for handheld play in a vertical mode. Okay, so gameplay, and it's understandably simplistic, combining classic games from the series with newer inclusions that take full advantage of the Switch's capabilities. The game here, it's actually broken down into what are essentially two categories. You get daily training and then a quick play mode that allows you to go solo or head to head with others in like an optional set of trainings and challenges. Now, the majority of the game you're gonna find is in this daily training mode, so let's break that down first. Here you'll find not only the classic age test, which it challenges you with 3 randomized tests to give you a calculation of your current brain age. Yes, this can be seriously depressing as ever at times, seeing your score. I think at one point I was like 56. But then of course there's daily challenges and trainings to help you improve upon this. That's kind of the big core of this game. Now, for the majority of training, it is all either stylus-based or hand-based interactions. That's obviously with the touchscreen, and they are as difficult and panic-inducing as ever, and I loved it. I had a bit of an addiction, I will admit, to these in the past, and they've lost none of their impact over the years. So when it comes to the games in this section, you'll be doing everything from matching images while remembering the next one at the same time. That was absolute pain. Doing quick calculations, whether that's, multiplication, division, subtraction, spotting the biggest number on screen. Then we get Sudoku. For those that don't know, the objective in Sudoku is to fill in a 9x9 grid with digits so that each column, row, and then each of the 9 subgrids contain all the digits from 1 through 9. Thanks Wikipedia for that description. Finally then, my favourite, a Tetris clone. Now that's just some of the games here, and they all work absolutely great on the system. This mode, it's built upon the idea of returning and creating a habit of working on your abilities every single day. The game, it presents you with a new challenge and then slowly unlocks new gameplay as you keep on returning day after day. It was always great at getting me to return this game, and that's no different here. There's a stamped calendar showing your dedication, and that really plays into my personal OCD, honestly, that I want to collect all of the stamps. It just made it very simple to pick it up and play it with just 5 minutes to spare, while tempting my curiosity with seeing what new game they might show me or what new mode might become available. With the majority of these modes using the stylus or your hand, I went with hand personally. I've got to say the occasional mistake was made by recognizing my inputs, but overall I will say it never harmed the experience. It wasn't very frequent. It just added a slight bit of frustration occasionally, especially when it came to the score for the age of my brain. Now next up then, we have quick play. These for the most part are then IR-based games. That's the camera in the right Joy-Con. It's simplistic, but a great use of the system's functionality. The idea is simple. You have hand-based games essentially here where you answer, 1 through 5 with your fingers, or even maybe make gestures. Like there's a rock, paper, scissors game in here, and I really loved that one. It was a very cool way to use the system, and it truly is challenging when the game's actually flipping things around on you and telling you not to win it, but to lose it. It gets the brain thinking backwards. Here we also get some minor selections for multiplayer, and you pass the right Joy-Con around and take on those challenges together. One multiplayer, it's not something I would suggest picking this game up for. It's still a nice inclusion. It's nice that they at least tried something different. This mode is really the only time when you actually might consider playing on the TV. as you won't really need the touchscreen too much. But honestly, I found myself almost always using the kickstand 99% of the time I was in this. The whole experience feels like it belongs on handheld. Perhaps that's down to where this series started for me on the DS. Now I will say there's a few problems for Switch Lite players when it comes to the gameplay, especially in quick play and the multiplayer. Having no detachable right Joy-Con or IR camera, basically you're going to get two options if you want to play this one. Either jump to the options screen, you can turn these games off, essentially losing like 50% of the gameplay here, or going out and purchasing, you know, a $40 Joy-Con or $80 for the set. I would personally struggle to justify that honestly for this one. I wouldn't suggest you go out and do it, but it is a shame that you're missing so much content. Like the training with touchscreen though, finally in this quick mode, for the most part the camera works well here. Yeah, it did misread the occasional shape or number of fingers I was holding up, but never again enough to really impact my experience. Overall, the gameplay, it's exactly what I expected, and that's exactly what I wanted. Fun mini games that get me thinking while using the Switch in a new and kind of interesting way. But I will say at the end of this video today, the scores based on system are going to be very different for me because this hasn't been built to accommodate everyone, which is a real shame. So graphics, and while there's not too much to say, you can see that from what you're seeing on the screen here, it's very simplistic. It's still though got this weird level of charm that appeals to me personally. You know, rather than overcomplicating things, they've stuck to what they know and they went with a minimalistic approach that sets the focus purely on the games, the challenges themselves, and what you need to do to win. Nintendo has never been known as a powerhouse for graphics, but this is a great example of how they don't need graphics to make this really engrossing experience. Expect, I will say, the occasional bit of colour, but mainly it's going to be outlines for the most part. Outside of that then, the bulk of the graphics, we do get the occasional picture puzzle. They're literally photos, so no complaints here, even if they are just like mainly stock photos. I wish they'd done something a bit more kind of interesting with them, I will say that. And then the IR camera provides this cool looking camera view where everything goes kind of like reverse neon. I thought that was kind of fun, even though it's literally just the way the camera picks up on the infrared. Last up for graphics though, Dr Kawashima is presented as with the original as a polygon floating head. The jagged edges return from the original, and I'm happy to see they didn't change this with a new system. This for me is now a part of the series, part of its identity. The Dr Kawashima should look kind of retro in a way. Then the menus, they're also really nice, providing text alongside a description and photo of the game type you may be jumping into. So I think you can probably tell this, it's not going to win any awards for graphics, but for me it hits all the right marks. A clean looking experience that, while never offensive, puts my focus clearly on what I needed to do in the gameplay. Nothing more than that, nothing less. So finally, last up here today, we have audio, and there's very little to speak of, honestly. Music is inoffensive and kind of relaxed, which matches, you know, the stressful gameplay very well. It's all quiet in the background between most game types. And then the game has some sound effects linked to, you know, right and wrong answers to let you know when you need to move on or try again. We're definitely not here for the sound, that's obvious, and I didn't need any more, honestly, than what they put here. Don't expect a lot, but expect enough. So the final verdict on this, it's, I've got to say, an interesting one. Gameplay leads the way entirely, with then graphics and audio taking the back seat, understandably. I'm happy to say though, the gameplay is just as addictive as ever. Nintendo, as I said, they're just great at achieving this with like educational games, and they've really honestly hit the mark again here. Now, while I did have the occasional issue with the game reading my inputs, it was never enough to kind of harm the experience or stop me from wanting to return. Then with graphics and the audio, as I said, it all does enough to update this package while keeping everything that made it unique back from 2005. Now, as a Switch and a Switch Lite owner, I am able to comment though on the differences here. The Lite for me is just too content restricted to give it my full recommendation. It also doesn't do enough to justify going out and spending $80 on a pair of Joy-Cons. Today, for that reason, I'm actually going to be giving 2 scores for this one. On the Switch Lite, it's an average experience. It's also 50% of the experience nearly. So for that reason, today it's a 5 out of 10. But if you have the base Switch system with detachable Joy-Cons, This one, it's a great 8 out of 10. I strongly recommend it. And it shows again how the Switch is unique against its competitors. And it can take something that may, seem dull and turn it into something much more than that. People are all worried about power with the PS5, the Xbox Series X, but this is what Nintendo does. So that's it. What do you think? Will you be picking this one up, and will you be picking it up on the Switch Lite out of curiosity? Thanks so much for watching. Hit subscribe. As I said, we release a ton of videos just like this. Hit that like button, it really does help. Leave us a comment below with your thoughts, and with that, we'll see you all on the next Gaming X.